We arrived at a capital campaign through a long set of conversations. We were reaching a significant milestone in the life of the church. Our congregation in 2019 turns 150 years old. And we thought it's a good time to pause and to reflect and to think, what do the next years look like?
As you know, we have 3 core values: welcome, diversity, and community. But what does that look like? What does it look like for a welcoming, diverse community to walk in the way of Jesus and to reveal Christ's reconciling love? Well, those are questions that the Capital Campaign is intended to help us to try to answer.
When I walked through the door here at Holy Communion was this sense of a warmth and an openness and a welcome. Like there was this existing community that was so vibrant and so connected to one another. But there wasn't a sense that I was new and I wasn't welcome or I was unknown. There was a sense of, come in, we want to know you. We want you to be a part of who we are. And I feel like that sense, that feeling of welcome and community has only grown as we've been here. And it's so remarkable. I love that about our church.
What is the work that we could do that could not just patch up systems, but that could really lay some grounding, some foundation for the next period of life together as a congregation, and really importantly, how our facilities could continue to serve and could grow into better serving our wider community.
When the campaign was first announced, I had a few reservations. And this church has been home for me for my entire life. So when I think of change, I think of, is this gonna be my home anymore? Will this change take away how this church formed me? I thought I would lose that all. One thing that made me realize change was good was a conversation I had with Father Mike Angel.
We sat down one-to-one with folks in the congregation, and we convened a whole series of small group and large group meetings to talk about what are the important opportunities and what are the big challenges that we face with our building. We're a church, and so the space where we worship is really important. Unsurprisingly, those priorities lined up pretty well with the values that we share as a congregation. And the senses were a big piece of how we thought about what we needed to do in our space. Diversity was a piece there.
So what does it look like to be a diverse community? We say we are a diverse community, and I believe that we are by just about any standard. But does our physical space reflect that diversity?
We want to see the diversity of our congregation and of our wider community in the images, the sacred images that are in our stained glass window.
What message would it send to see a person of color reflected in the windows on the church? It might seem like a small thing, but it speaks volume to that marginalized stranger about the value that might be placed on that person. And what does it say to our white parishioners to see stained glass windows reflecting people of color? To people who, for generations, have walked through these doors with open hearts and open arms to everyone.
And then the physical environment itself was very important as well. Our current configuration has beautiful historic pews, but a number of those pews are facing heavy wear and tear. And so we determined to both restore some of those pews, but to unbolt them from the floor and to add some supplemental seating so that the space could become more flexible.
To accommodate people of all abilities. We might have a service with participants who are in wheelchairs, or we might want to have an interfaith service with a mosque.
When we started attending Holy Communion, our children were quite a bit younger. And at that point, the nursery hadn't been completed yet. And it was so exciting to see that happen, to see the church community rally around that, and to just watch our faith community making space for families like ours.
And I don't know if you know Martha Bonds, but she's not that young anymore, and the church grows old just like we all do. To keep the church going, you have to make changes.
What do we want our space to look like? What are the foundations we want to lay for our next years of growth together, both in terms of our worshiping congregation and growth in our ability to serve our wider community?
The Capital Campaign is exciting to me because we're being so intentional about this value that we place on community, about the value that we place on different kinds of families, families with children of all ages, families from different backgrounds. And I think the Capital Campaign just gives us such an opportunity to grow into the future and to dream big.
So having a realistic goal was really important, but when we reach that goal, it's gonna feel really good as a congregation that we couldn't have done this with any one donor, that it took all of us together to make this project a reality.
With my family pledging, it's always been about the commitment to see how our contributions actually grow our church. As with the Capital Campaign, it's about how we all take the time out to commit.
And I do want to say that even though we're aiming high and these are big dreams and big goals, I know with what I've seen in the life of this community that these are also attainable goals. We can do this, and we will do this together and with Christ.
It's taken a lot of dreaming to get to this campaign, and it's taken a real collective imagination making the space available not just for our worshiping community, but for the wider community.
The walls may change, the doors may change, the windows may change, but the heart of Holy Communion will always be Holy Communion.
These changes, these are substantive statements about who we are as a congregation and who we want to be, who we plan to live into.